Hi, this is Marcus Hayes at the Philadelphia Inquirer and Inquirer.com. I'm here today with one of our baseball writers, Scott Lauber, and we were this year both Hall of Fame voters. And I got to tell you, it was an interesting year, maybe one of the most interesting years on record, between the DH controversy with David Ortiz, should he or should he not be allowed to be in the Hall of Fame? Of course, there are a couple already. The steroid controversy, a lot of the steroid guys are coming up on their 10th and final year, notably Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and the Curt Schilling controversy. Should a person's post-career issues be weighed with their Hall of Fame candidacy? And of course, then there's the Jimmy Rollins controversy. Was Jimmy Rollins, I guess, abbreviated outstanding career enough to put him in the Hall of Fame with the likes of Derek Jeter? From my perspective, yes. We'll talk about that in a second. Scott, what did you think?
Marcus, I'm so glad we're talking about Jimmy Rollins because it's at least a baseball argument.
Right.
It feels like every year I have a steroid argument or I have a Schilling argument. At least we can talk about baseball. And, one of the things that I cringe at is when you vote for someone or don't vote for, a no vote for someone, you're perceived to be denigrating that guy's career. I don't feel that way at all about Jimmy Rollins. I did not vote for him. I do, however, believe he is the best shortstop in Phillies history. I do believe he's a franchise icon. I just don't think every single franchise icon is elevated to the level of a Hall of Famer. And I looked at Jimmy and I saw a guy who had a really, really great career. It just didn't rise to the level for me. I'm not an analytics stat guy, but it was hard to look past like the 95 OPS plus. It was a little hard to look past what I thought was kind of a shortish peak for him. I'm lucky enough to have covered that peak, but I'll throw this number at you from 04 to 08. He had an 811 OPS and a 105 OPS plus, good numbers. That, of course, includes his 07 MVP season. After that, in the 8 seasons that followed, a 702 OPS and a 91 OPS plus. I just thought the peak was a little too short. He's a really, really good player. He was just not a Hall of Fame player, which does not diminish his standing in Phillies history as the greatest shortstop they've had.
Well, it's interesting that you listed all those statistics and it totally ignored his defense. Jimmy Rollins was, except for Omar Vizquel in his prime, the best defensive shortstop in baseball. And not only was he excellent at making plays, he was excellent at not giving away bases. He did everything really, really well, and some things better than anyone else, especially going to his left. He made his second baseman better. He made his pitchers better. He made his third baseman better. He made his outfield better. Both the center fielder and left fielder didn't have to cover the range that Jimmy could get to. And, I'm always going to put more emphasis, I think, on defense than most people. That's the part of the game I like to watch the best. I like to show up early and watch the right fielder, if they're doing throws, throw to third base. I love watching infield, outfield. I wish they did it every day. That said, among full-time shortstops, he's the only one in history with at least 500 doubles, 200 home runs, and 400 stolen bases. And I don't think it's fair to compare him necessarily with A-Rod, who I believe was a spectacular shortstop, who was appreciably better than Jeter in every measurable category when A-Rod played shortstop. But the statures are so different. And what Jimmy did is he won games. It's just his career fielding percentage of 9.834 is second among all shortstops in history who played at least 11,000 innings. And for me, that's good enough. But I get it. It's a debate. It's the Hall of Fame. It's subjective and it's subject to change. I think Jimmy, I picked 10 guys this year. I'm not sure about you. I picked all 10 that I could pick and I ranked them, and I'm going to do that every year. I think Jimmy might have been number 6. I'd be surprised if any of my guys get in this year because I didn't grade on a curve for steroids. I did grade on a curve for Schilling. I don't know. Would you be willing to revisit this vote, the Jimmy Rollins question at some point in your future votes?
No question about it. And I'm happy to see that he's tracking at least like it looks like he's going to get the 5% necessary to stay on the ballot. He should stay on the ballot. I would love to reconsider him again next year. I've had people say to me, well, you covered him. Why do you have to reconsider him? Well, you talked about defense. Historically, this is, I think, my 7th vote. I've historically, I think, maybe undervalued defense for some players. I didn't vote for Andrew Jones this year. He's somebody that I consider quite a lot. I considered him quite a lot last year before not voting for him. But there's, he's certainly a guy who did some things defensively at a premium position in center field that would make you think, well, can I overlook what I think are maybe some peak, a shortish peak or some offensive deficiencies? I voted for Scott Rowland because I think the offense and defense were both there at an elite level. But Jimmy certainly falls into the category of, did what he do defensively make you overlook the fact that he's 10th all time in outs, in outs made at the plate, which I know is a function of the at-bats he got and plate appearances and all of that. But look, this was a guy who by some measure was an average offensive player. And does his defense do enough? And I'd love to take a harder look at it next year. And I'm glad it appears I will be able to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, this is Marcus Hayes at the Inquirer and Inquirer.com with Scott Lauber. The results will be announced Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll see how right Scott was and how wrong Marcus was, as usual. Thanks again.